Have you ever noticed that two people can earn the same income, yet live completely different lives? One feels trapped, counting every paycheck and fearing every unexpected expense. The other seems calm, confident, and free to make decisions without panic. The difference isn't how much money they earn, it's how much control they have over their lives. This is the first lesson most people never learn. Wealth is not measured by the size of your bank account. It is measured by the number of choices that truly belong to you. Most people spend their lives chasing a bigger salary, believing the next raise will finally make them feel secure. But security built only on income is fragile. The moment your lifestyle depends entirely on one paycheck, one employer, or one source of income, your money is no longer serving you. You are serving your money. You may earn more than ever before, yet still feel unable to leave a job you hate, move to a different city, or say no to opportunities that don't align with your values. That isn't freedom. It's dependence wearing expensive clothes. This is why the wealthy think differently. They don't ask, how much can I make this year? They ask, how much control can I create? Every investment, every skill, every asset, and every financial decision is designed to increase their freedom to choose. Because the greatest luxury is not owning more things. It is owning your time, your decisions, and your future. Look closely at the people who seem truly successful. They rarely make decisions out of desperation. They don't accept every offer because they need the money. They don't tolerate every toxic relationship because they fear starting over. They can walk away when something no longer serves them. That ability is more valuable than any luxury car or designer watch because it cannot be bought overnight. It is built through years of intentional choices that reduce dependence and increase freedom. One of the biggest mistakes people make is confusing a higher income with a higher level of wealth. Income can disappear. Freedom is much harder to take away. Someone earning a modest income with low expenses, valuable skills, and multiple opportunities may have far more control over their life than someone earning 10 times as much while drowning in debt and obligations. Money only changes your life when it gives you the power to choose instead of forcing you to react. Every financial level comes with its own invisible prison. For some, it's surviving until the next paycheck. For others, it's maintaining a lifestyle they secretly can't afford. The prison changes, but the question remains the same. Are you making decisions because you want to, or because you have no other choice? The answer reveals your true level of wealth more honestly than any number in your bank account. Never forget this. The purpose of money is not to impress strangers. It is to reduce fear, expand your options, and give you ownership over your own life. The moment you stop measuring wealth by income and start measuring it by control, your priorities begin to change. And that is the moment your journey toward real financial freedom truly begins. Failure is painful, but comfort is far more dangerous. Failure forces you to learn, adapt, and become stronger. Comfort asks nothing from you, except that you stay exactly where you are. That is why so many people never become truly wealthy. They don't lose because they lack talent. They lose because life becomes just comfortable enough that they stop growing. Think about how this happens. Someone gets a stable job, receives a few raises, moves into a nicer apartment, buys a newer car, and slowly builds a lifestyle that feels successful. From the outside, everything looks fine, but beneath the surface, nothing has really changed. Their income has increased, yet so have their expenses. Their schedule is still controlled by someone else. Their future still depends on a paycheck arriving every month. They escaped financial struggle, but they never escaped financial dependence. This is the quiet trap that catches millions of people. Once survival is no longer the problem, ambition begins to fade. The desire to build assets is replaced by the desire to maintain comfort. Instead of asking, how can I create freedom? People begin asking, how can I avoid losing what I already have? Without realizing it, they stop chasing growth and start protecting routine. That shift in thinking is often where progress ends. The wealthy see comfort differently. They enjoy it, but they never allow it to become their identity. They understand that today's comfort can become tomorrow's limitation if it prevents them from taking calculated risks or learning new skills. They know that every meaningful level of growth requires periods of uncertainty. There is no business without risk, no investment without volatility, and no transformation without temporary discomfort. Every higher level demands that you leave behind the safety of the previous one. One of the biggest financial mistakes is upgrading your lifestyle faster than you upgrade your assets. A higher income should create more freedom, yet many people use it to create more obligations. Bigger payments, larger houses, expensive habits, and endless subscriptions quietly consume the very money that could have been invested. The result is a life that looks impressive but feels impossible to walk away from. You own more things, yet fewer choices. Ask yourself one simple question. If your income stopped for 6 months, would your lifestyle still belong to you, or would it begin controlling you? The answer reveals whether you have built freedom or simply built a more expensive version of dependence. Real wealth isn't measured by how comfortable your life appears today. It's measured by how resilient your future will be tomorrow. Comfort is not the enemy because it feels good. It becomes the enemy when it convinces you that there is nothing left to build. Growth begins the moment you become willing to trade temporary convenience for lasting freedom. Because the people who create extraordinary lives never become prisoners of comfort. They use comfort as a place to rest, not as a place to remain. Imagine waking up tomorrow knowing you don't have to say yes to the first opportunity that comes your way. You don't have to stay in a job that drains you, accept unfair treatment, or make decisions out of fear. That feeling is what real wealth begins to create. Not unlimited money, but unlimited options. The greatest financial advantage isn't owning everything you want. It's never being forced into choices you don't want. Most people live with fewer options than they realize. Their entire future depends on one paycheck, one employer, or one source of income. If that disappears, so does their sense of security. This is why even high earners often feel trapped. They may have more money than ever before, yet they still cannot afford to lose the job they dislike or take the risk they've been dreaming about. Their income has grown, but their freedom has not. The wealthy build their lives differently. Instead of relying on a single path, they create multiple ways to move forward. They develop valuable skills that can be used anywhere. They invest in assets that continue producing value. They build businesses, strengthen relationships, and create systems that give them alternatives. Every new option reduces dependence on any single one. And with every layer of optionality, fear begins to lose its influence. This is why optionality is more valuable than income alone. Income solves today's problems. Options protect tomorrow's opportunities. When you have choices, you negotiate differently. You think more clearly because desperation is no longer making decisions for you. You can reject bad deals, leave unhealthy environments, and wait patiently for better opportunities because you are no longer acting from survival. Freedom changes the quality of every decision you make. Many people spend years chasing more money while ignoring the things that actually create options. They stop learning after finding a stable career. They avoid building new skills because their current job feels secure. They postpone investing because they believe they will start one day. Over time, their world becomes smaller, not because they lack intelligence, but because they have stopped expanding their possibilities. The greatest risk is not taking a calculated chance. The greatest risk is depending on only one path while believing it will always exist. Every valuable skill you master becomes another door. Every meaningful relationship becomes another bridge. Every asset you own becomes another source of stability. These choices may seem small today, but together they create a life where opportunities begin multiplying instead of disappearing. Wealth grows quietly because options grow quietly. Long before your bank account changes, your ability to choose begins changing your future. Ask yourself a simple question. If your current path disappeared tomorrow, how many other paths could you take? The answer reveals far more about your financial future than your current salary ever will. Because people with options rarely panic. They adapt. They move. They create new opportunities while others wait for old ones to return. Never build a life that depends on one decision, one person, or one paycheck. Build a life with so many possibilities that setbacks become detours instead of disasters. Because the moment you begin creating options instead of merely earning income, you stop working only for today's survival and start building tomorrow's freedom. Most people believe the path to wealth is simple. Work harder, earn more, repeat. At first, that strategy seems logical. The harder you work, the more money you make. But eventually, something frustrating happens. You reach a limit. There are only so many hours in a day, only so much energy your body can produce, and only so much value one person can create alone. If your income rises only when you work more, your wealth will always have a ceiling. This is where the wealthy begin playing a completely different game. Instead of asking, "How can I work harder?" they ask, "How can my work keep producing value after I'm finished?" That single question changes everything. It shifts the focus from effort to leverage. Because effort creates income, but leverage creates freedom. Think about two people who work equally hard. One spends every day completing tasks that must be repeated tomorrow. The other spends time building something that continues producing results long after the initial work is done. It could be a business, an investment, a digital product, a personal brand, intellectual property, or a system that allows other people or technology to multiply their output. Both work hard, but only one creates results that continue growing without requiring the same amount of personal effort. This is why ownership matters so much. When you only sell your time, every dollar must be earned again. But when you own assets, your past effort continues working for your future. Every investment, every business system, every valuable piece of content, and every long-term relationship becomes another engine producing value. The goal is not to stop working. The goal is to stop starting from zero every single day. Many people misunderstand leverage because they associate it only with money. In reality, leverage exists in many forms. Knowledge allows you to solve bigger problems. Technology allows one action to reach millions of people. Strong teams multiply what one person can accomplish. A trusted reputation attracts opportunities before you even ask for them. The most successful people rarely depend on one form of leverage. They combine several until each one strengthens the others. That is why wealth often seems to accelerate unexpectedly. From the outside, it looks as if successful people suddenly move ahead. But what you are actually seeing is years of invisible systems finally producing visible results. While others kept exchanging time for money, they were building assets that quietly grew in the background. The breakthrough feels sudden only because the leverage was invisible for so long. Ask yourself an honest question. If you stopped working for 1 month, what would continue creating value? Would your income immediately stop, or have you built anything that keeps working without your constant attention? The answer reveals whether you are building a career or building wealth. One depends entirely on your presence. The other becomes stronger because of what you have already created. Never underestimate the power of leverage. Hard work will always have value, but hard work alone rarely creates lasting freedom. The people who build extraordinary wealth are not simply the people who work the longest. They are the people who learn to make 1 hour of effort produce years of results. Because the greatest financial breakthrough doesn't happen when you find the strength to work more. It happens when your work finally learns to work for you. Why do some people completely transform their financial lives while others remain stuck for decades, even after reading the same books, attending the same seminars, and chasing the same opportunities? The answer is surprisingly simple. They don't fail because they lack information. They fail because they try to create a new life with an old identity. Every new level of wealth demands a new version of the person creating it. Most people believe success begins with better strategies. They search for the perfect investment, the perfect business idea, or the perfect career move. But strategy alone rarely changes a life. A person who still thinks, reacts, and makes decisions like their former self will eventually recreate their old results, no matter how much money they temporarily earn. Income can rise overnight. Identity rarely does. And identity always wins in the long run. Think about every meaningful transformation you've ever experienced. Before your circumstances changed, your standards changed first. You became more disciplined before becoming more successful. You learned to control your emotions before leading other people. You started protecting your time before your time became valuable. The visible results always arrived after invisible changes had already taken place. Success was never the beginning of the story. It was the consequence. This is why growth often feels uncomfortable. Every new level asks you to let go of habits that once felt normal. You may need to stop seeking approval, stop avoiding difficult conversations, or stop spending money simply to impress people. You may even outgrow environments and relationships that once felt familiar. That process is uncomfortable because you are not only changing your circumstances, you are changing the person responsible for those circumstances. The wealthiest individuals understand this better than most. They don't just build assets, they build standards. They become the kind of people who naturally make better decisions. They think long-term when others chase quick rewards. They remain calm when others panic. They invest when others hesitate. Their biggest advantage is not intelligence alone. It is that their identity consistently produces behaviors that move them closer to freedom. Ask yourself a difficult question. If someone gave you $10 million today, would you know how to protect it, grow it, and multiply it over the next 10 years? Or would your current habits slowly return you to where you started? That question has very little to do with money and everything to do with identity. Wealth stays where the right mindset exists. Without it, even extraordinary opportunities eventually disappear. This is why lasting success cannot be borrowed. It must be built from the inside out. Every promise you keep to yourself, every disciplined choice, and every difficult decision you make is shaping the person who will either manage greater wealth or lose it. Your daily habits are quietly deciding what level of success you will be able to sustain long before success actually arrives. Never focus only on changing your income. Focus on becoming the person capable of creating that income repeatedly. Because every financial breakthrough begins with a personal breakthrough. The life you want is waiting on the other side of the identity you are willing to build, and the moment your standards rise, your future begins rising with them. Most people think power is about status, money, or authority over others. They imagine expensive offices, influential titles, or people giving orders. But real power is much quieter than that. It is the ability to shape your own reality instead of constantly reacting to someone else's. The moment you stop living according to circumstances and begin creating circumstances, you enter an entirely different level of wealth. Think about how most people spend their lives. They react to deadlines they didn't choose, follow schedules created by someone else, worry about economic changes they cannot control, and spend years adapting to situations they never wanted in the first place. Their energy is consumed by responding rather than creating. They work hard, but they rarely decide the direction of their own lives. That is the greatest cost of having too little power, not a lack of money, but a lack of control over the future. As people become wealthier, something far more valuable than income begins to grow. They gain influence over time, decisions, and opportunities. They can choose the projects they accept, the people they work with, and the environments they live in. They no longer make every decision based on immediate necessity. Instead, they think strategically because they have created enough freedom to look beyond today's problems. That shift changes everything. This is why true power is built long before it becomes visible. Every valuable skill you develop increases your influence. Every trustworthy relationship expands your reach. Every asset you own reduces dependence on a single source of income. Every wise financial decision gives you greater control over tomorrow. Individually, these choices may seem small, but together, they create a life where you begin designing your future instead of waiting for it to happen. Many people chase symbols of power while ignoring its foundation. They want recognition before creating value, influence before earning trust, and authority before demonstrating responsibility. But lasting power always grows from usefulness. The more problems you can solve, the more opportunities naturally move toward you. Influence is rarely demanded. It is earned through consistent value delivered over time. Power also changes the quality of your decisions. When you are desperate, every choice feels urgent. When you have options, you can think clearly. You negotiate with confidence because you are not afraid to walk away. You invest with patience because you are not searching for instant results. You focus on long-term outcomes because your survival no longer depends on short-term reactions. Freedom creates clarity, and clarity creates better decisions. The greatest irony is that people often believe power comes after success, when in reality, success is usually the result of gradually building power. Every step that increases your independence, strengthens your reputation, or expands your ability to create value gives you a little more influence over your own life. Over time, those small advantages compound until you are no longer asking for opportunities, you are creating them. Remember this, wealth is not the finish line, it is a tool. And the highest purpose of that tool is not luxury or status. It is the ability to shape your own reality. Because the richest person is not the one who owns the most things. It is the one who has the greatest freedom to decide how life will be lived, regardless of what the world is doing around them. One of the most dangerous illusions in modern life is believing that success should happen quickly. Social media shows the breakthrough, but hides the years that came before it. We see the successful business, the financial freedom, and the recognition, but we rarely see the countless mornings filled with uncertainty, repetition, and quiet discipline. As a result, many people abandon their goals simply because their progress looks invisible. They mistake slow growth for no growth at all. Every extraordinary achievement begins in a season where nothing seems to happen. You work, learn, improve, and sacrifice, yet the outside world sees very little. Friends may question your choices. Family may wonder if your efforts are worth it. Even you may begin doubting yourself because the results haven't arrived yet. But this invisible season is not wasted time. It is where the foundation is being built. Every meaningful success is supported by work that no one applauds while it is happening. Think about planting a tree. For a long time, the only visible change is a small shoot pushing through the ground. Yet beneath the surface, the roots are spreading in every direction, becoming strong enough to support future growth. Wealth works the same way. The habits you build, the knowledge you gain, the relationships you develop, and the discipline you practice are invisible roots. They may not produce immediate rewards, but they quietly prepare you for opportunities that others are not ready to handle. This is why consistency is far more valuable than occasional bursts of motivation. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls with circumstances. Discipline is a decision. It continues even when progress feels slow or unnoticed. The people who eventually achieve extraordinary results are rarely the most motivated. They are the ones who keep showing up after the excitement has disappeared. They understand that success is usually earned long before it becomes visible. Many people quit just before momentum begins. They spend months building a skill, investing in themselves, or growing a business, only to walk away because the payoff isn't immediate. What they fail to realize is that progress often compounds quietly. The first months produce little visible change, but every small improvement makes the next one easier. Eventually, what once felt impossible begins accelerating. From the outside, it looks like overnight success. In reality, it is delayed recognition for years of invisible effort. The wealthy understand this principle deeply. They do not expect every investment to double overnight, or every decision to create instant results. They think in years instead of weeks. They trust the process because they know that meaningful outcomes require time to mature. While others chase quick rewards, they focus on building systems that continue improving long after the initial effort has been made. Patience, for them, is not passive waiting. It is disciplined action repeated without immediate applause. Ask yourself this question: are you willing to continue building when no one is watching? Because that answer determines far more than talent ever will. Anyone can stay committed when progress is obvious. Very few people can remain focused during the quiet seasons when nothing seems to change. Yet those are the moments that separate builders from dreamers. Never underestimate the power of invisible progress. The world celebrates the harvest, but it is the unseen seasons that make the harvest possible. If you keep planting, learning, and improving while others give up, your breakthrough is not a matter of luck, it is only a matter of time. Because extraordinary success is never created in the spotlight. It is built in the quiet moments when no one is looking, but you choose to keep going anyway. If there is one lesson that connects everything we've explored, it is this: Your financial future will never rise above the standards you accept today. Most people spend years chasing better opportunities, hoping that one breakthrough will finally change their lives. But opportunities rarely transform people. People transform opportunities. Long before your income changes, your standards change. And the moment your standards rise, your future quietly begins changing with them. Look back at every principle in this journey. Freedom was never about having more money, it was about having more control. Comfort became dangerous the moment it replaced growth. Optionality gave you the freedom to choose instead of react. Leverage allowed your effort to outlive your time. A stronger identity produced better decisions. Power came from shaping your circumstances instead of surrendering to them. Invisible seasons taught you that patience is often the price of extraordinary success. None of these lessons stand alone. Together, they describe one simple truth: your life changes only after you change the standard by which you live. Most people don't fail because they dream too small. They fail because they tolerate too much. They tolerate habits that steal their time. They tolerate relationships that weaken their ambition. They tolerate excuses that become routines. Every compromise feels insignificant in the moment, yet repeated over years it quietly becomes an identity. Eventually, people stop questioning their limitations because those limitations begin feeling normal. The standard they accept becomes the life they experience. The people who build lasting wealth make a different decision. They refuse to negotiate with the future they want. They demand more from themselves before demanding more from life. They protect their time because they know it can never be replaced. They invest before they spend. They continue learning after everyone else believes they already know enough. They measure success not by comparing themselves to others, but by comparing today's discipline to yesterday's. Their greatest competition is the person they were last year. The remarkable thing about standards is that they influence every decision without you noticing. Raise your standards, and your habits begin changing. Better habits lead to better choices. Better choices attract better opportunities. Better opportunities create a different future. From the outside, it looks as though luck has finally arrived. In reality, the transformation began much earlier, the moment you decided that average was no longer acceptable. Ask yourself one final question. What standard has been quietly controlling your life? Is it the standard of comfort, fear, and convenience? Or is it the standard of discipline, ownership, patience, and continuous growth? That answer matters far more than your current income, because today's income reflects yesterday's choices, while tomorrow's wealth will reflect the standards you choose to live by from this day forward. Never wait for the perfect opportunity to become a different person. Become a different person, and opportunities will begin looking different to you. The wealthiest individuals are not simply rewarded for what they own. They are rewarded for who they have become, through thousands of disciplined decisions that nobody else was willing to make. Money eventually follows that transformation because character creates choices, choices create results, and results create freedom. So remember this as you leave this video. Every financial level is first reached in the mind before it is ever reflected in a bank account. The moment you raise your standards, you begin changing your decisions. The moment your decisions change, your future begins changing with them. Because your destiny is never determined by the life you hope for, it is determined by the standards you refuse to compromise.